Welcome back. You're listening to the 2.5 Kiwi podcast. This week we're going over round 3 of the Super 15. It's 2018. I've got my man, oh man, Luke Robson. He moans. He moans. You'll see the video in a second. Oh man, oh man, oh man. He moans like a Brit, but he's not one. And also,
Thanks, mate.
Anytime, mate. And to my left, I've got the bandwagon Brit, which is Jack Newman from the British Riviera. Let's kick things off by talking about Chiefs versus Blues Friday night. Jack, I believe you were ringside.
Yeah, so I was over at the stadium for a reasonable $31. Pretty good game.
Is that the week's pay? Is it? Or?
So how much did you have to pay for how much did you have to pay for the autograph of Davey McKenzie? Because he was not giving that up willingly.
Mate, he was like, "Look, you're a big fan. Take a photo, put a signature." And it was all sorted. He actually said sorry.
And give me $20.
I did. I thought I read a New Zealand Herald article about someone stamping on 5-year-olds trying to get to DMAC at one point of a British complexion with a stupid toothy grin.
Well, what I'd say is, A, that's very accurate, and B, I didn't know there were 5 at the time.
Yeah,
I mean,
at least 7.
That's helpful.
Okay,
Anyway,
so you got DMAC's autograph.
Getting back onto the actual... Yeah, I did, okay. Yeah. Getting back onto the rugby itself. So the match went pretty to the wire. In terms of the Blues attacking, I actually didn't think they were that great, to be honest. It looked like it should have been a bit more comfortable in my eyes.
You're saying the Chiefs outplayed the Blues, is what you're saying. The scoreboard didn't actually reflect how the game went.
I wouldn't say we outplayed it. I wouldn't say we outplayed it.
You're talking about we. You're from Great Britain. You're not a bloody Hamilton-born bogan.
What's that in the bottom corner? What's that in the bottom corner?
You're not calling it...
What's that in the bottom corner?
Oh, no. So what, you'd like Chiefs now? Is that how this works?
Yeah, is that what's in the bottom corner?
Oh,
or is it not?
I don't know.
Anyway, regardless. So, Chiefs just looked like much more threatening on the actual attack. In my opinion, anyway. But the nervy bit of the game was obviously the very end. All Chiefs had to do was get the ball out of play, and then obviously he gets tackled as soon as he's about to kick the ball. Blues get possession, and then it turns out to a Blues line-out. And the one thing that they had to do was just keep the line-out straight, and he's thrown it crooked.
Uncontested line-out.
Yeah,
that is classic Blues, though, let's be honest. We've seen that season after season, game after game, butchering just basic, rudimentary skills that you need to nail at this level, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing which highlighted for myself was the All Blacks players on both sides. They really showed like that different class amongst the others, and I think the Blues' downside was really just not getting Rieko Ioane on the ball enough. When he got the ball, he did some damage, but other than that, he was just pretty much isolated. They weren't getting the ball to him in time.
I tell you what, Kane just seems to just keep performing every week in, week out in that leadership role.
Don't get Luke excited.
Mate, I totally agree. He is honestly just hard as nails, and he just seems to be playing with more just aggression than we've seen in previous years.
He's got that ex-murderer look about him,
He does. It's the haircut, which I think was done with an axe. Like, it looks like it.
Oh yeah.
Do you think it's come with confidence as well, though? Like he's starting to come into his own now. He's got the
and I think that's the key word there. Like Jack is like into his own. Like previously, we've always compared him to Richie McCaw. But I don't think we've ever really come away from a game being like, wow, like Richie's just smashing guys, whereas Sam Cane is. And I think he's just branching out from being just a different style 7, and shit, it looks good, eh?
He's been in that been in that the All Blacks machine for some time now. And I think you're really starting to see that depth come through from it, growing that young player who was, let's be honest, he was pretty scrawny relative to what he is now. Into that leadership role and that defensive play that we're loving to see. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, you sort of now think with that All Black. Sorry, Jack. I'll say you think about now that All Black, loose forward trio. I know you say. You've got your who's the big bruiser from the Highlanders, number 6, Liam Squire, who very similar.
What a beast he is.
Imagine Sam Cane, Liam Squire just going hundy against teams. There's going to be some serious physical contact, so that'll get us frothing for that front series, eh?
Frothing, all right. Interesting.
Maybe not you guys, but you guys don't froth over. Okay.
What was it? Blowing off Sam Kane last
We're gonna
week
need.
and frothing this
We're
week.
definitely gonna need
What are
that.
we gonna get next week, Luke?
Mate, you were wiping your mouth in that photo with Damien McKenzie, mate. So you just
Let's keep it clean, fellas. Let's keep it clean.
Yeah.
No, literally wipe your mouth.
Going back,
sorry.
going back to hard hitting. What about the hits which McKenzie took in that game?
Mate, he's
And Matt Duffy, a man
and the ones
possessed.
after the game.
Mate, he's 80 kilos dripping wet. He's gonna get swatted like a fly from time to time. Owani.
I like how he dropped 10 kilos from last episode.
Yeah, he's playing full-time footy, so it's unsurprising. He got swatted by Owani that 5 metres out from the line. That was quite heartbreaking to see. And also took that massive hit from that Chiefs player. Remind me his name again. No, not the Chiefs player.
so
Not the Chiefs player. The Blues player.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you only
Duffy,
did one massive hit, and then Duffy, who was just going crazy for like a 5-minute period there, eh?
Yeah. Pretty concerning considering D-Mac was on the floor for about 2 minutes, and then also Sam Kane was on the floor. I mean, two players which you can't really do without, especially in that team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's enough on the Chiefs game, and we'll move on to the Crusaders, and I think Aaron can kick us off with that one.
Oh, Crusaders, I mean, classic, clinical display of footy for that first 20 minutes. They were scoring point a minute. The Stormers had absolutely no answer. I don't know if they just got off the plane or what it was. Maybe they had a big stake down at the Lone Star. But, mate, I tell you, they had no answer to the fury and the accuracy the Crusaders played with for that 20 minutes. To their credit, the Stormers fought back and played some pretty basic rudimentary footy at one stage, clocking up 20 phases to score one try. You don't see that very often. Very impressed.
You don't see it very often, and credit to them. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's taking them 20 phases to score, whereas the downside was the Crusaders just were doing like 2 passes and they were scoring, and it completely undid their hard work.
I did note later in the game. You go, look. Yeah.
I was just going to suggest, like, we talk about the word coach killer, but the complete opposite to that, obviously something that the coach just fizzes off would be 20 phases, because that's the sort of footy that gets you to playoffs. I mean, you go up against, playoff footy, you're not going to score off 1 or 2 phases, like, defenses and things like that, just improve over the course of the season. So if you're putting 20 phases together, regardless of whether you're crawling up the line or not, like that for me is, say just on that coaching front, I'm sure they are just like, that's a tick in a box, regardless of, that for first 20 minutes,
I just want to clarify on my point though. What I meant by, I'm obviously not slagging off 20 phases, that's great, but the fact that was the only way they scored. It's like they need to be able to do it quickly as well. I mean, if they can do both, then that's the best. But I mean, they struggle to do just the quick and simple because they're messing up in other areas.
I think it does come down to that style of play, though. The Kiwis are trying to play flat. They're trying to play expansive like they do. High tempo, fit rugby. South Africa simply don't do that. They are huge men. They do like to rumble and maul and whatnot. What I did note later in the game, though, was the Stormers, when they came out that second half, it was quite a different team. They actually attacked the Crusaders on attack. Quite impressive. They actually ran through the decoy runners, not buying that runner ball off 9 or 10, and were actually disrupting play quite dramatically. There was 3 drop balls that could have easily been intercepts and at least 1 intercept try on the Stormers side. And I was pretty disappointed to see the Crusaders not adjust there. I thought I expect more from that. I expect a plan B. Because it's pretty obvious that's what you're going to do. Every time you run a pod and you're just going to flush the ball in behind, quality teams will pick up on that. The Stormers adjusted well, I think, because the scoring was much lower in the second half. That's all we can ask for as a coach. I mean, the game was unfortunately gone before that 40-minute.
Yeah, it's quite hard though. Once you're that far ahead of any team, you're naturally going to shut down to the degree of what you're going at the start. That's just like it's very rare that a team will be able to keep up, like just smashing points past them. Like, I mean, even the All Blacks can't even.
Well, that mental complacency comes in as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just, I guess, while we're talking about Crusaders Stormers, the unicorn of the week has to be that Mo'unga step. Stepped about 5, at least a tight 5 anyway. 10 metres out to glide in. Unbelievable.
Went about 3 metres to the left in about 0.5 of a second. Yeah. Admittedly, like you said, like slow guys around him. But, didn't take anything away.
A quality back.
Great
if there was quality backs there, he still would have stepped in. There wouldn't be so many of them. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it was.
So Crusaders,
and that's why he's deservedly unicorn of the week.
Yeah, unicorn of the week too.
Yeah. So just looking at on account of just say while we're on the topic of Mo'unga, And he's probably got a bit of he's saying he's got surgery lined up with the jaw injury, and say Damian McKenzie didn't play 10 over the weekend. Do we still see it just being an absolute arm wrestle for that number 2 spot in the All Blacks for those two over the course of the season?
Yeah, well, I don't see anyone else coming into it. I mean, it's between those two. Obviously, Sopwanga's gone overseas, which Luke will probably touch on in a bit about the payment side of it.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I think between those two, and I think Mackenzie showed, like, although he wasn't playing at 10, like, he showed how valuable he is at the back.
There's a high potential that Mackenzie gets slotted in that utility player role, which as any player you don't want to be, because you're the free option, right? It's for whoever gets injured, but if no one gets injured, you're not in. So it's
that's right.
It's one of those issues he's going to have to face.
And you sort of do we read much into like the kicking though, eh? Because like, while DMAC got it real right and towards the end of the game, like at the start there was some real gettable kicks there that you're sort of thinking, but there's like cup match that shit comes back at you.
The first one he missed, I couldn't believe it. I was like straight in between the posts.
Jeez, did you almost want to put your autograph book away and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not that far. But yeah, like the kicking in general though. I mean, Mo'unga started kicking really good in that game, although he did miss another one, which he pretty much had the same kick in like four similar positions.
I think he got
like the first two and then missed the first.
I think he was got bored taking them, mate. He was having to kick it over that many times.
Maybe. And then
Crusaders curse, well. Oh man,
just score tries, man. Forget about the conversion.
Let me sidestep. I don't want to kick him.
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear.
But also then Bodes also with his kicking also missed a very easy one, and I mean luckily. Well, I mean, not luckily, but obviously Jordie Barrett's just back in. Maybe that's why he wasn't on kicking duty. But going obviously into the World Cup year next year, you really want Bowes to be the predominant kicker for the Canes. But I mean, if that's going to be the case, we'll have to wait and find out. But certainly. So
just on that, that Jordie Barrett, Beauden Barrett scenario there at the Hurricanes. So when you're going to have Shag looking ahead at the All Black, World Cup squad, and he's going to want a kicker, and he's naturally going to want Beauden to be his starting 10. So he wants Beauden to be kicking. Meanwhile, Boyd is obviously thinking about what's best for his team, and over the course of last season, we saw that Jordie Barrett was actually, slotting drop goals from halfway, So
he's a natural inkling. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So that obviously puts a bit of tension in that situation, and let's be honest, Shag wants bloody Beauden kicking just even for practice, just to get the yippies out of him,
It's an interesting one that kicking, because. Is it the key to the game? Can you have a 15 in there? Can you not have Beauden running 10 and then DMAC in 15 and DMAC takes the kicks? It's probably less of an issue early on that then you'd probably assign the same sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to the big level, I think Beauden's is going to step up anyway. But just obviously, he's always going to have. If he misses one kick, which is really easy, they're obviously going to question it. If he's not had that. Regular kicking role for the Hurricanes, then it's obviously going to come back on it. But that's just how it is. But I mean, I think he's a good enough player and he'll deliver on the World Cup. I think that's how it's going to go.
I would have thought the biggest issue for DMAC, speaking of All Blacks, is that Ben Smith just walks in with the robe and the red carpet whenever he wants, gold chains, mate. I don't know how you're not going to shake that position. The way he runs that back line is world class. He is the best fullback in the world. So I would have thought DMAC needs to focus on first 5 if he wants to play regularly. He needs to focus on 10 and his kicking.
Yeah, I mean we're looking at this World Cup. I mean he is only still 22, so I mean he's still got more in him than what Ben Smith has. So whether that's where he sees him in the future, I don't know. He's proven that he's good enough to play there. I mean unfortunately the guy who's better than him is also.
I don't think DMAC has it at an All Black level though. It's still his first radio to come, isn't it?
Well, I mean, like, you look at the game against the South Africans, and like he won that game. Like he was solid pretty much everywhere. He gets a lot of hate just because of his size, and obviously he gets compared to Ben Smith. It's a hard thing to get compared to. But he's only 22, first time with a real outing in the black jersey.
I'm saying he hasn't proved himself.
You can only take positives from it.
Oh yeah, it's a step in the right direction, but it's certainly by no means a tick for further performances. I would have thought. Yeah. Anyway, let's
I think he's proven that he can play there anyway. Should we move on to the Canes game anyway? Yeah, Luke, you can introduce the Canes game.
I'll kick things off. Yeah. So the Hurricanes, were one really hot and cold that game. I felt they started off just showing so much promise, but then just right where it sort of mattered, they just made these just little dumb errors. And for a team that, as you say, is still the bulk, still much of that same championship team who won it the year before last, you sort of think I think they're sort of past that point of. So I'll use a couple of examples. Like Julian Savia, I felt like while he had moments of real nice, he also just at one point just got tackled like when he had the ball in one hand, just blatant knock on, and then the Higuares really spun it wide like. And then another one, Gareth Evans off the back of the lamb, a scrum 5 metres out, just has a run, and rather than just trying to secure the ball, just throws a yuck offload and just blows the whole piece. And you just sort of think, like, come on, guys. Like, these were early in the game, where's that patience? And I don't know, they came away with it in the end, like anything but convincing.
It's kind of how the Hurricanes play, though, isn't it? I mean, they are high out, they try a lot of things. And if 51% of them come off, they're probably going to win a game. I mean, because they are high tempo, high risk plays. There's almost always an offload. There's bloody bodies flying everywhere and cuts left, right, and centre trying to create space. And it's kind of how they play, mate. They are messy. They aren't clinical. If I was going to use the word clinical, you'd think Crusaders, right? You're going to use the word flashy and expansive. You're probably going to think Hurricanes. So again, they came away with a win, and it was poor opposition. Let's be honest. The Jaguares, I mean, they literally knocked the ball on every time they touched it within Kiwi of the try line. That is inexcusable.
At one point, I swear their halfback was aiming for the guy's head, and the guy didn't even put his hands up to protect his head. He just stormed into it. It was just what are you guys doing?
The other thing which summed it up was possibly their best player on the night, their 10, and then he goes for a very relatively easy kick at goal, and he fucking almost gravitates it to Odin Barrett. I mean, I was like,
The RGs are...
Well, you've got to keep in mind, in a football-mad country, they'll still get a few rounds of applause for that,
he thought he was Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
They are extraordinarily passionate players, and unfortunately, I think that gets them most of the time where... I don't know how many times I've seen Argentina butcher almost guaranteed, if not 100% try time opportunity.
They were 5 minutes away from the line constantly, and then through no fault other than their own, they messed up. And
is this our coach killer of the week? Is it?
Yeah, coach killer of the week. So they're pretty much on the line. They couldn't be much closer. Passing it down the line, and then they got one more pass to the 13. All he has to do is just catch the ball. The one thing that you ask of any rugby player to do. And he's dropped it. And literally no player near him. He was the last man. He drops it. And then ironically, the Canes they break from it. And they get two passes together. And then it comes to their third pass. And then they would have been for a try, and then Matey Boy drops it as well. No. So it was just an all-round shambolic play, and that's really why it got...
That Jaguares player just pretty much had to fall over the try line, right? With some downward pressure.
He didn't... The thing is, he didn't even have to catch it. He just had to, put from his waist up and on the ball over the line. And he failed to do it.
And that is basically the Argentinian team as well, was the scary thing. So yeah.
Certainly both teams were culprits for, on a very dry night, dropping a very greasy ball by the looks of it. But
they made things look difficult. Oh well, never mind. We'll watch those fellas closely. You do love watching the Argies play, though, don't you? Well, that's
in some aspects.
They're passionate.
Well, we are focusing on New Zealand teams. Do we still do we see a still place in them and for them in this comp? Are they always going to be there?
Yeah, why not? I mean, they're improving slowly but surely. But I mean, the only problem is that the All Blacks and the New Zealand teams, they're constantly improving, so they're never actually gaining any closer.
Yeah. I feel like they've got the cattle though, they've got good players there, massive guys and things like that. You sort of think, you look at Creevy, man, his chest gets bigger every year.
But it's the micro.
You just sort of think
it's the micro skills, it's the hands, it's just simple things like that.
Micro
pass,
skills,
catch and pass. it's classic footy syndrome where you go in and do all these amazing structures and crossfield kicks and the rest of it, but your players can't actually catch a ball. I mean, that's the defining thing about rugby is that you've got to maintain possession, and they will get there. I think it's great for the game that you introduce a new country and new players and new fans. Fantastic.
Yeah.
One other question which I think needs to be brought up is what part of the body will Luke compliment a guy on next week? I mean, it's just
a big fan of the human form, eh?
Yeah, I mean, props to you. But
I'm gonna send.
Let's just keep on the rugby for
I'll send Creevy a text shortly and get him to work on his biceps next week. See what he comes back with.
Yeah. If you could, I mean, I'm still grieving over the loss of White Crockett. I mean, if you've ever, I mean, that's going to be a tough one to lose.
I think the Crusaders penalty count goes down by half, doesn't it? So. Let's be honest. Our beloved Highlanders had a bye though, didn't they? So we got nothing to really get excited about, do we, Luke?
No, unfortunately. Yeah.
Which is something which the Blues will be begging for. So I mean, take that away from it.
Mm.
Yeah, I think the Blues are already looking forward to their bye week. I would say that's for sure.
Yeah. Back-to-back buys, I think they want.
Just to the end of the season.
Unbeaten run for the Blues.
Oh, dear. So back to...
Right, so let's just go to a couple of the All Black situations. We've already touched on the second 10. I think Luke wanted to say something in regards to Sopwanga and what the value of number 2 for the 10 role is.
That's exactly... Yeah, so I think we've seen, say, Lemo Sopwanga, who had that number 2 spot held, but then was probably, as we saw on that India tour, Richie Mo'unga was definitely putting pressure on that's coming into that 2 spot. So therefore Lima's probably he thought to himself, likely at the end of that tour, right, well, I'm now on the 3rd spot in the All Blacks. So he's clearly made a decision that he's probably got offered somewhere close to $1 million a season. And so I would say, just sort of making a bit of a judgment here, that maybe that is the value of the third spot for that All Black 10 is, close to $1 million a season, and that's sort of where your breaking point is. Because as you say, on that World Cup here, we've taken 31 players, so you take 3 10s, but that third 10 realistically is there as, the poster boy, you just go to the restaurants and go to the, get all the photos the same, but you know what I mean, his name isn't going down in the history books, whereas, say Lima now is going to go over there, make some good dollars, set his family up, and, I don't think he's going to get a lot of haters for that. Yeah, that's right. That's the thing.
I don't see anything wrong with that personally at all myself. I mean, we don't know the reasons behind it. We know there's a big paycheck, which will be part of it. Yeah. But hey, do you want to really be the guy that was in at the 2019 World Cup in Japan who played against Georgia or some third-rate team because that's the only game time you got, or do you want to be over there earning big dollars?
Yeah, I mean, well. That's something which he'll look back on, and that's his regret or not. At the end of the day, it's no one. I wish him all the. None of ours. I think no one. Wish him all the best. At the same time, no one's really gonna. Miss him as 10.
I think maybe we could.
Role, I don't think.
It's a bit different. Say we look at the Carl Heyman, his decision to go overseas when he did. I mean, everyone knew he could have made he could have etched his name in the All Black Almanac stonework. Like he was going to be the best and probably still looked upon as one of the best props who went around. Whereas I think for Lima it was different. Like I think he clearly saw he was behind IRB World Rugby Player of the Year. The shit that Bowden can do. He's like, well, I'm never going to be sort of pushing past that, realistically. And so the whole mindset I guess changes when you're probably not at that upper echelon.
Mm.
Yeah, I just think he didn't have any, he's obviously going to get better as a player, but I don't think he's got, the gap to get good enough to overtake him. I think with the likes of Mo'unga and Mackenzie, then they have a greater skill gap to gain. Maybe they won't, but, I mean, they've got that potential, I think.
We also don't know what conversations we had between management, All Black management that is, and Lima.
Of course.
So, I'll tell you, speaking of All Blacks, though...
I mean...
How was that? How good was Goodhue? Mind the pun.
Oh.
Yeah, well, of course. He was, he was very good.
I mean, he did.
I honestly think we're going to see more and more of that guy,
he got a look in at the end of last year, I believe.
It's real interesting, that midfield battle.
Yeah. That is what happens when you go through the season. You do tend to see more of a player.
I mean, on the All Black circuit, but granted.
Yeah. What about so the other guy who played quite well last season, and he played all right for the Canes, was Lamape. What do you reckon about him?
I think he's still got more to develop. To be honest. Yeah.
He does, but I mean, in terms of just raw beast, he's.
It's easy to shut down, man. It's classic in New Zealand rugby. You get a big fast guy, and you think he's awesome.
He's my. Yeah. Right now, he's my starting 13 when we play at home to Argentina. You know, that's where he's that's where he plays.
He serves his purpose.
But,
stinks. Yeah, I mean, Goodhue did also in the Crusaders game. Let's not. Although aside from the tackling, which he's obviously pretty solid at, the passing, which he showed 2 assists for the tries, 1 reverse.
I think it's the
pass and then 1 looping.
It's the decision making.
All round kind of player.
As a coach, it's the decision making that I'm really excited about, and that's what I think you need at that All Black level. It's the difference between winning games and losing them is positional play, running different lines and spotting opportunities. That you can't actually really coach. That takes a player who sits down, thinks about things, and has something a little bit special. And I think Goodhue's got it.
Yeah.
So would you say that he stands a chance at taking out one of the 2 which are in there at the moment? And if
I'm putting his name forward in the running anyway this year. I'm gonna make that call now.
And to take out of.
I put him ahead of Lamapi, definitely.
Barring a Sonny Bill Williams, I'd say Sonny Bill Williams gets injured, which as we've seen is becoming weirdly common lately. He could be the next guy in there, and because he already has that existing combination with Crotty, then almost why not?
True.
He looks like a Crotty protege to me, and I think the All Blacks love Crotty management anyway. So I just see him as a.
Seen that haircut?
Mate,
is there anything you're not? Right, back to the footy, not the appearances, Luke. Goodness me, we're gonna have to start filming these blind jackasses. He's gonna start commenting on our appearances. Oh dear. No, I think the back line. We'll see some more things develop quite clearly as time goes on. But I'm just putting it out there now. I think he's in the running for All Blacks end of year, and even earlier than that.
Yeah.
So,
Right. What about coming June? Do you reckon he'll sneak in there? Good opportunity to put him in there.
Sorry, I didn't catch the player. Sorry, let's say it again.
So with Goodhue, would you put him in June?
Oh, in June. Why not? Give him a go.
100%,
Sorry.
100%. Yeah.
Because that's the game. That's the games which you want to just blood some.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
just get them.
Yeah. If we're 2-0 up in the series, start him in the 3rd, definitely.
Yeah. How do we still think Ioane is the first-rate ringer?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I mean, I would say not to just jump straight onto it, but I mean, I think you just look at him. He's just. But I mean, the other thing is he did come inside in that Blues game, and they played someone else up the wing, so he can play that kind of centre role, and that's the question of whether he's going to be seen long term. Is he going to stay on the wing? Or not?
Another great example of depth in that All Blacks setup, isn't it? It's fantastic.
Yeah. I think he's almost got the choice of where he wants to play, and then just focus on it. And I think he'll play that.
But does he have the choice? Is it Tana's choice or is it Shag's choice? I
guess we don't know.
We don't know.
But I would say if he wants, he can train to it, and I think he will get to it.
Okay.
I mean, he's only 20.
We'll watch him closely anyway. Let's wrap it up and talk about round 4. And what we sort of expecting for the week coming. We've got Highlanders taking on the Stormers at Forsyth Bar, and then that's Friday night. Canes Crusaders, what a game. What a game. That is going to be Saturday at the Cake Tin. I cannot wait for that one. And finally, the Blues are over in Johannesburg taking on the Lions. Tough ass, you got to say. What do we think? Let's start with the Blues versus Lions. That's going to be probably a contentious one, actually.
Yeah, I think also, just because we just said then we're going to watch Ioane, I think he's going to play a key part on whether they can actually provide some points. And
he's basically the only one that can score a try in the whole game, right? If they have to have an Ioane at the last name.
Yeah. I mean, that is what it is. I mean, they need him to step up and they need to get the ball to him. That's the more important thing. Get him on the ball.
Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing with the Lions is the last 2 years, remember, they haven't played a New Zealand team in round robin.
Correct.
So
and
it's
this early as well.
Really just. Yeah. So it's finally we're actually going to get some insight early about where that South African team is at, because every last 2 years they just seem to blindside us.
Well, Luke's just looking at their physique, isn't he? So he's actually going to watch the game.
Although, have you seen their winger? He got a try of the week first. That very first round.
It's their number 10 that's the real
So,
flashy boy, isn't it? I thought their number 10's the flashiest looking one there. Anyway, I'm gonna say Blues by under 12.
I'm gonna go with Blues. I reckon Blues by 20. I'm gonna go big. I reckon they're gonna deliver, and I think it's gonna show why the Lions aren't very good at playing New Zealand.
Okay, fair call. I like it. Luke, what do you reckon?
Yeah. New Zealand teams. Yeah, it goes without saying that. Yeah, obviously
Who's gonna win,
Highlanders all
Luke?
the way.
Do you say honestly, Highlanders all the
from
way?
Yeah, you did, yeah.
We're talking about Blues
I
versus
thought
Lions.
it was
Huh?
We're talking about
Sorry, I
Blues
thought we
versus
moved on.
Lions.
Oh,
Anyway,
we're still on that. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, the blue team. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
moving on.
sorry,
Luke's already moved on. Let's we'll finish with our favourite team. So let's just talk about the two non-interesting ones: Hurricanes versus Crusaders. Crusaders. I'm a Southern man. It is the South Island. I do live in the Tasman Conference. It's got nothing to do with the outcome, but I am going to say Crusaders. They have been the form team of the competition so far. Really impressed with how they absolutely dominated in that first 20, and I expect nothing less against the Hurricanes.
Is that anything to do with your close ties to Richie Mo'unga?
Me and Richie, we go back a long, long way, but that's got nothing to do with it. He's got a sore jaw at the moment. It's not going to be up to him. So,
Why's he got that, mate?
what I'm saying, Crusaders by under 12. It's going to be a bit more of an arm wrestle this week.
Yeah. I reckon. No, I reckon. Yeah. I'll go close one, but yeah, definitely the Crusaders.
Luke,
Yeah. No, I mean,
still
like,
going the
we
Highlanders.
talked about it earlier with
Dear.
yeah, like we discussed it before. Clinical team versus a team who's hot and cold. You know, this is the fine. This is a chance to test that theory. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's got to be clinical. Yeah.
Hurricanes will be up for it.
And then rounding it off.
Highlanders v Stormers. There's no questions there. Highlanders all the way.
Yeah.
13 plus actually, to be honest.
Yep.
13
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah.
They'll be fizzing.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah, no, why not?
Yep.
Yeah, let's just
Look
do
out
that.
for Shannon Frizzell. He's an absolutely electric back rower. We might be playing back row. He could be playing in the loose, but he's a new
Alright.
talent in the Highlanders. Barnstorming runs, fantastic in the air. So keep an eye out for him.
And
Nice.
tune in next week for round 4 highlights. Unicorn of the week. And what was the last one?
Coach Killer. Coach Killer.
Coach killer.
And Coach Killer of the week. Let's hope that
Not too many of those.
it's none of the New Zealand players, but we'll see.
Yeah. Brilliant. All right, thanks, chaps.
All right. Sweet as.
All right.
Cheers, boys.
Catch you
Good
later.
luck.
Right.